I'm getting so tired. I'm getting so.
Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show, y'all. Let me give you a quick catch up on what happened in episode 1 of Alcoholic is Saved by His Grandson, right? Look, Jerome is in an accident, and the person in the other car gets killed because Jerome is driving the wrong way on the road after he left the basketball game that his son won. It was a big game, a big inner city rival game, and Brandon them won the game. And on the way home, like I said, Jerome ends up, because he's drunk, he ends up hitting somebody and killing them. Now, he's about to get ready to go to trial, but that's what this is going to be about. But let me get you into this real fast, right? Look, check this out. He's out on bond. He's out on bond. And he needs a lawyer. And he needs a good one. Because the situation is dire for him. It's not an issue of going home after the trial, being found not guilty or anything like that. That's not the issue on the table because the evidence is overwhelming. The issue here now is, are there any mitigating factors that can help explain why this man was drunk? What was going on with him? Does he not understand that driving drunk is dangerous and you're driving a car which is a deadly weapon? They need to know, what was he thinking? Why was he doing this? What was going on with him? So the discussion is had after they hire a lawyer, right? Do we introduce all the things that he's been going through in his life, put his whole life out there for people to see and hear, so that he may not end up in prison for a long time? So the strategy of the lawyer is to tell the truth. Tell why and how he ended up on alcohol, drinking like it from the time he was 13. So, see, this is going to put the family business out there for everybody to hear it and see. And Jerome doesn't want to do that. He's too proud to tell everybody that his father left his mother when he was 13, and that his father came back into her life later on because he had grown tired of the woman he left his mother for to have sex, and it made him relapse and he went back. He don't want nobody to know that. He don't want nobody to know how messy his life is. He don't want anybody to know that other than the people that already know. But the lawyer tells him this might help explain to the jury and the judge why you were willing to risk it all. Why you are sick. You have a disease. But he was too proud. He didn't want people to know what was going on with him. So instead of going in there and telling the truth, they went in there and left that out. And the trial went on. And his lawyer, he's like, I don't have a defense other than to say that you throw yourself on the mercy of the court. So why are we going to trial? He kept trying to talk him out of going to trial, but he didn't want to do that. He went to trial. And it didn't take but 2 days. One day for the trial, the next day for the sentencing. And they found him guilty of vehicular homicide. And they gave him 12 years at 65%. 65%, y'all. So he's going to have to do more than half of that. He's going to have to do more than half of that. So he's off to jail, to prison. Because in the county that he was in, if you get more than 8 years, you got to go to the penitentiary. And that's where he went. And this really had an effect on Brandon. Because Brandon is a teenager. He's a teenager. And he's about to be picked by several colleges, offer scholarships to go to school to play ball. This man, this boy that's going to be a man, has a bright future. But now his dad is a convicted felon. And he's embarrassed. He's embarrassed because why didn't they tell the truth? Why didn't they tell what my dad had went through so that they could understand, and they might not have given him that much time? He didn't understand none of that. He didn't understand none of that. And it made him angry. It made him angry. And he swore that day that he would never touch alcohol. Never. He would not take a drink because he saw the damage that it had done to their family. And then he learned about his mama's family, Tasha's family. Because his grandparents on her side, they came clean and told him that they were alcoholics back in the day. And they were proud that he didn't want to drink, but they were sad at the reason why he had chosen not to. Why didn't Jerome just tell the truth? Tell people what he had been through. He was ashamed and he was embarrassed. And in that, now Tasha, she loves him. His mother, she loves him. So they go visit him at the prison. And let me tell you something. When you have an addiction and you come into prison with that addiction, things get messy. They get funny sometimes. See, you might not be able to get no alcohol, but see, you still have that urge to want to do something to numb the pain, especially if you don't deal with it and confront it like you're supposed to head on. So instead of drinking liquor, because he couldn't get none at the particular institution he was at, he decided to use me some drugs. Smoked him a little weed. So when he did that, it made him relax. He felt as though everything would be okay when he was on that weed. But he was doing the same thing, getting the same feeling that he got when he was on that alcohol. So now, when he's visiting Tasha, when he's visiting his mother, either separately or at the same time, they see the signs. They ask him, "What are you doing?" And he'll say, "I'm not drinking. Y'all don't understand. It ain't no joke in here. I'm still on that liquor." No, that wasn't what he was on. He wasn't on no liquor, y'all. But see, they didn't understand what he was saying. What they were saying is, I'm still addicted. He's still addicted. And he needed some help. But he didn't want to face help, because to get help, you got to do what, y'all? Tell the truth and shame the devil. And he didn't want to do that. He didn't want to face that. So he's smoking more and more. And now he graduates from that to something a little stronger. All up your nose. Now he's on that. You understand? That white girl. He's doing that now. And now he's calling home asking for more and more money because he has bills to pay. He has bills to pay in here. You don't get it for free. So one day, Brandon's mother, Tasha, she says, now, Brandon is about to go off to school. He's accepted a scholarship at a D1 school, right? And he's about to go off to school. So she tells him she thinks it'll be a good idea for you to go see your dad this weekend. So he decides to go see his dad, and he's wearing the jumpsuit that the school had given him. It's got their name on it and their colors and all this and that. He wants his daddy to see what he's doing and how he's going to make him proud of him. So he wears his sweatsuit up to the prison, and all of the guards, they see him and they're telling him how proud they are because they see him and they saw him on TV when he decided to go to the school that he's going to. They saw him in some games in the past and all of this and that, and they're saying, "You're going to be doing great things. You just don't do like your father. Don't be like your father." And he didn't like hearing that. He didn't like those words. So he pushed them to the back of his head and made him feel some kind of way. So when he was sitting down with his father, he could see that his father was happy and proud, but he saw how his father's eyes were glossed over. And he asked him, he said, "Dad, are you okay?" And he told him, Jerome told him, "I am now that I see you." And his dad broke down. Jerome broke down. And he told Brandon, Don't be like me. Don't be weak like me. Don't let chemicals, don't let drugs, none of that take you down. Don't be like me, son. And Brandon looked at him with tears in his eyes, and he said, Daddy, I'm just like you. I just choose not to drink. I choose not to use drugs. But I am my father's son. And I don't want you to ever forget that. And you got the strength in you. You just haven't found it yet. But you got to work on that. And Jerome sat there and he looked at him, and for the first time, he seen that his little boy was a man. And he was proud of him. And at the same time, he was ashamed of himself. But see, Brandon didn't go through the things that Jerome went through. He didn't have to deal with those things that he had to deal with. Yeah, they had different issues going on and all this and that, but it was different. It was different. So after the visit, Jerome went back into the prison, and he made a promise to himself to stop using, to give it all up. But he had bills to pay, y'all. Because when you in here and you paying for something in here, it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times more expensive than it would be on the town. 6 times more in some cases. I'm telling you now. And they wanted their money. So he told them, give me some time and I'll get it. I'll make sure you get it. I'll make sure you get it. But they didn't want to hear that. Every day that he was late, they taxing him. And when I say taxing him, that means they adding to it. If you owe 20 and you don't have it tomorrow, you owe 40. You understand? If you ain't got it the next day, you owe 80. That's how it goes in here. And don't nobody care about your problems at home. They don't care about the bills you got. They don't care about what your wife can't do. They don't care about none of that. All they care about is getting it. And they want it. So it got to be too much for him to bear. So he decided to check in, get away for a while, to get clean, to get his strength. And he did that. But when he did that, he made enemies. You owe people and then you run. So when he got out, now when you come off protective custody, see what they do is they ask you, are you sure? Are you safe? Do you understand what's going on? All of these types of things. You feel me? Because you got to give them a reason to be put on protective custody. And his reason was, he said he was not safe. He felt his life was in danger. You understand? So when he decided to come off of protective custody, they asked him, are you sure? Are you sure that your life is not in danger? And who are you talking about? And this and that and the third. Now, he didn't want to give up the names and all that kind of stuff. So they looked at him and they said, sign this. And then he signed the paper saying that he felt that he was safe and he understood that the institution would not be held responsible because he's making this decision. So when the paperwork went to the warden was reluctant to do it, but he did it. And he let him out of protective custody. Now, he's back in the population. And that debt that he had, still got it. But in the 3 months that he spent back there in protective custody, getting himself together, doing push-ups and sit-ups, and getting his system clean, right, the bill is astronomical. And these guys want their money. And he's telling them, I'm going to pay you what I owed you, but I'm not going to pay you this interest. I'm not going to pay that. And you just got to deal with that. But I'm going to give you what I owe you. So he made a call home, got the money, and he gave it to him. And they took it. And they said, you still owe us. So when one guy pulled the butcher up, when I say butcher, I mean that shank. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So when the one guy pulled that butcher up, Jerome snatched it. Now keep in mind, Jerome was a working man. He worked all his life, so he wasn't weak. You understand what I'm saying? He wasn't weak at all. He grabbed the butcher, and the dude rushed him. And when he rushed him, the knife was pointed outward, and it ran right into the guy's gut and ripped him in half. And the dude looked at him with his eyes big, and he fell back, and he hit his head on the desk. He's gone. He's gone, y'all. He's out. So Jerome looks down at him, he sees him, and he puts his hand on his neck like they do on TV trying to find the pulse, but he can't find one. He ain't sure, so he does it on the other side, and he's panicking. And now he takes the knife and he drops the knife, and he's washing his hand trying to get the blood off his hand. Now he changes his shirt, but it's too late. The officer is making his rounds, and he sees him. And the officer calls a code. He rushes into the cell. What happened in here? And he tells him that he rushed me. He rushed me, and I took the knife. And then he said, what happened after that? He said, I don't know. All I know is he fell and hit his head. So the officer told him to turn around. He had to put handcuffs on him. And by then, the other officer had got there. And he said, what happened here? And the officer said, he stabbed him. So they both took him out. And they took him down the hallway, and they took him to maximum security and locked him up. Internal Affairs came to talk to him. He told them what happened. They wrote his statement down. And he needed to get one phone call. And he called Tasha. And he told Tasha what had happened. Now the phone calls are taped in here. They're recorded. They hear everything we say. They know everybody that we talk to. So they heard him telling her what happened and why it happened. And she cried. And she said, well, what's going to happen? And he said, I don't know. They haven't charged me yet. And she said, are they going to charge you with murder? And he said, I don't know. So she gets off the phone with him, and she calls Brandon, and she tells Brandon what happens. And he says, I'm coming home. And she said, no, don't come home. Stay there. Stay there. There's nothing that you can do here. And he said, I want to see my daddy. And she said, no, stay there. There's nothing that you can do here. So months go by, and then the indictment comes down, and they charge him with second-degree murder. Second-degree murder. They know the whole story. They know the whole story. So the same lawyer that represented him on the vehicular homicide is now representing him on the second-degree murder charge. And he tells Jerome, he said, look, we have to tell them your story. They need to understand who you are, why you do the things that you do, and why you did this, what led to it. And for the first time, Jerome gave in because he was about to give up. And he said, tell my story. Tell my story. Let them know what I've been through. So the lawyer, when he listened to him talk like that, he got this feeling in his gut. Something's not right here. Because he's saying these things to him. Jerome is saying these things to him as if there's something going on. And the lawyer had experience with that. So he said, listen to me. Hold on. Don't give up. I got you. I got you. Don't give up. So the lawyer stayed there with him a little longer and got the full statement and the full story and everything. And he went to the district attorney. And he told the district attorney, let me tell you about this man. Let me tell you what he's been through. Let me tell you his story. And he laid it out to the DA. how he had been treated when he was younger, how he had been treated on the inside of the institution, how this gang member went into his cell with a knife to kill him, to get some money from him that he says that he owed him for drugs that he didn't owe. It was interest on a debt. And he defended himself. And the DA thought about it for a minute. He thought about it. And he said, I'm going to have to get back with you on that. I need to run this up the chain because we're not in the habit of letting people get away with murder. And his lawyer, Jerome's lawyer, said he's not getting away with anything. He was defending himself. And he said, we're going to fight you every step of the way if we go to trial. And we're going to let the jury decide this. And the DA said, wait a minute. I'm going to run it up the chain so we can see what we can do. He said, I understand. And if you want to hear the rest of this story, you're going to have to tune in tomorrow to the next episode because it's getting better. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.
I've been trying to breathe underwater.